My name's Chris.
And I'm Kristie.
This is the Washing Up Podcast. We are back.
I know, it feels like forever, but only yesterday, but still forever, but wow. Isn't this... I'm just so happy.
It's been the longest and the shortest period of time humanly possible.
I know, as the doctor has said, time is all wibbly wobbly and timey-wimey and all that good stuff.
Indeed it is. We are very wibbly wobbly. We are very timey-wimey. I mean, wibbly wobbly is also a great way to describe, unfortunately, what happened to Jill in the showstopper. But
I know.
We'll get to that. That's all ahead of us. And we obviously have, a really exciting season. Mm-hmm. We do also have to open with the fact that it's obviously tempered by...
it really is bittersweet. As a big fan of Cal Wilson for, over a decade.
Yep.
Let's just show how old we are.
Exactly.
I feel very privileged that we get to watch this season and see her,
in top form, it must be said.
I know,
some fantastic work.
Absolutely. So, I just want to touch on that. It can be quite overwhelming at times, and just to be gentle on yourselves as you're watching this season. I'm going to put it in our Facebook pages, because this is the kind of stuff I do for work, that there are resources out there, because, grief comes in all shapes and sizes and colours and variations. So, just be gentle on yourselves. But I'm at this point in time, I am just so happy that we're back and, we get to...
I mean, it's a celebration.
Absolutely.
And not to do that whole, what Cal would have wanted, but, this is some of the finest work. And, Nat, I've got to say, straight up, Nat and Cal in this episode are absolutely superb. And it is set, the tone is set.
Absolutely.
In a fantastic shed opening this year. And... I'm going to put it out there. I know it's not about us.
Yeah.
But I like the fact that when they came in and they're doing the whole lounging around and go, what about the washing up? And Cal looks and goes, that's not mine. And
you're right, Cal. We own it.
No, it's us.
It's us. We're the washing up.
Our subsidiary rights. No. But
no.
It was a great opening with the whole, you can ask for help from them. Now, having been inside the shed.
Yes.
It is probably one of the more livable spaces.
In Australian TV?
In Australian TV, definitely.
What, more than the living room?
Yeah, actually, because, you're not having to cope with some of the personalities in the living room.
And the shed goes through many weathers. We've seen it waterproofed in rainy times.
There's ventilation.
It can look cozy. It can look airy.
There's a lot of ovens. Some of them work.
It can look festive. And I'm loving the new shed.
The new potting shed they've got for the judges.
I want one of those in the backyard.
They can go out there. They can pot all their plants,
Look,
Darren's doing some propagation in between filming.
Look, I'm just putting this forward, right? In future seasons, when they're selling stuff off at the end and at the grand final, if they happen to have a nice little price tag on it, I'll take that home.
That's fantastic. We can do that. I'll lug it home. I'll strap it to the car. All right. So
hand out either side. Mattress moving style.
Exactly. Again, as Ross Noble once famously said, the optimism of Australians can be demonstrated quite clearly by the idea of their ability to, they believe, move a mattress on top of a car with just one hand out the window holding it.
Yes.
So
I'm also down for Darren Purchase lying on top of it.
Just
seeing that.
I got it.
I'm here for you guys.
There was a video the other day on dash cams actually that I saw before we get into it.
Okay.
Which was literally somebody was moving a shelving unit and they put it in the back of a ute and they were trying to hold it down and cut to the next part of the camera and there's a girl sitting in the back of the ute inside the shelves as the ballast.
No!
And I'm just like, if this shelf goes, she's flying with it. But
oh my God.
Optimism. And that's what this series is about, optimism. We get the baker walk in, we get them all talking about how excited they are to be there, so their will is not broken yet.
Yes. And every ADHD person is feeling seen.
Yep.
With Cal on the couch and mess around them. It's
wonderful. So we get everyone in there, we get our introductions, and then we get our signature.
Uh-huh.
And the signature is a signature pull-apart cake, multiple cupcakes in a single design, and you've got 2.5 hours. Now, we're all optimistic and we're all upbeat, so I'm going to get this out of the way right now. I hate cupcakes, and I hate cupcakes in Bakeoff, and I really hate that this was a challenge.
No.
However,
no.
I do understand.
Uh-huh.
First of all, there's a really cool decorative element.
Yeah.
And secondly, if you're looking to give the bakers an ease in, a cupcake is a really good way to do that.
Here's the thing, Chris. Like, I feel like you're being a bit too pretentious. This is the perfect opening. We're getting what we need, and it's a basic bake done with a little bit of flair to give opportunity for people to show what they're going to bring to the table. It's a cupcake. You don't like them? I think they're great. I know you like a good bit of knife work in dividing up cake.
I like the way you're like, your disappointment in that is based on your love of knife work.
Yeah. Whereas I'm all about the ease of divvying things up. And what if you don't have appropriate utensils? Cupcakes are the way to go. I'm not a fan of the mini cupcakes. I'm with Kevin Malone from The Office on this, in that why would you make a smaller version of a smaller style of cake? But I am here for a nicely portioned out cupcake. As long as it's got the right ratio of icing to cupcake, of course.
Yep. Look, so we agree to disagree on that one, but having said that, I'm not going to get as uppity as I think people might expect me to get. I'm just going to register it, and we're going to move on. So,
thank God.
Thank you. Before we start,
save it for someone using Marcher down the track.
Well, we will. However,
yes.
Let's quickly talk Apron Watch.
Oh, this is a good season. So we start off with Cox. Now, it's one of my big disappointments of Jill going home, because I wanted to see if she was trolling.
More Cox.
I wanted to see if this week was Cox, next week was eggplant, maybe peaches the following week. Like, what innuendos could she have gotten on her aprons? That's what I was here for.
See, I liked that one. I liked that Adrian very much had an apron that matched the vibe of his shagadelic cake at the end.
Oh my God, yeah.
Like, I could see that as wallpaper in some 70s lounge.
Yes, and I hope that it's his vibe for the rest of the season, is that it's like every apron he wears is a foreshadowing. That sounds really ominous. It's a foreshadowing of his...
Do we have a foreshadowing apron?
Yes, of his not stopping. What am I talking about?
Of his style and what his bake's going to be?
Yeah, for the end one. Showstopper. Oh my God, we're already
You got
here.
there eventually. We're already here,
Yeah.
and the brain's already turned to mush.
Yeah.
I also really enjoyed... There are a couple of others I really enjoyed. Look, I think we need to give a shout out, and I speak you in particular.
Ryan's, the fucking D&D.
I was going to mention Ryan's in the D&D,
Apron.
and we'll come back to Ryan, because we'll have a bit of a chat in a minute.
Needs a
But
20-sided die.
I think you need to talk about Molly.
Oh my God. Okay. Molly, you were giving me 90s life. Your choice to wear denim friggin' like overalls is perfect. But not only that, it's embroidered with her name.
Now, it's embroidered with her name and embroidered with flowers. And I, for
Yes.
one, am pleased to see the new member of Bewitched.
Bewitched. She could have gone for girlfriend. She just needs the hat.
She's
going to be like listening to this. If she even knows what a podcast is, because I'm assuming she's that young. There's a new thing now.
I'm looking at this and going, look, Bewitched is probably a stretch reference, or it's a definite stretch reference.
Yeah.
Girlfriend is something that I don't think is even in her universe.
No. Maybe her mum will have a vague idea, but even then, I'm thinking her mum's going to be younger than us. Like, her mum's going to be from a different generation as well, and that's putting me in the feels.
It's putting you in the feels?
It's putting me in the feels.
Putting you in the feels. Not giving you the feels.
No,
putting you in the
putting me
You
in
are
the
now
feels.
in the feels.
I'm
You
in
have
the
been
feels.
put in the feels.
Yes.
Anyway, let's move on. We will reference everyone else's aprons as we go through this series, because, like, let's face it, one of the benefits of Australian, and we talk to enough Canadian bakers that they will tell you, the thing they get really shitty about when they watch Australian is that we can bring our own aprons, and they're just stuck with the white ones with their name on them.
Yes, but okay. There's bonuses and
So Molly combined them.
So Molly did combine them, which I love. But I think what I like about the Canadians is it's easier to know their names because it's on their apron and you can read it. And it's very good for people with ADHD brains like me, even though I usually end up renaming a few people as we go along.
It is really funny.
Yeah.
I find you actually rename more of the Canadians when their names are in front of you.
Yes.
Than you do with the Australians. You tend to get them right. And the
maybe
Canadians all get renamed.
Maybe because of the association. So I looked at Molly and I've gone, okay, we're wearing dungarees like Molly from A Country Practice. So Molly will stick with
I
me.
love that every single reference you've got for Molly is so far outside of
Yes.
her wheel of like any
Yes.
form of relevancy.
Yeah.
There's not a chance.
No.
There is not a chance that she went through heartbreak of watching her husband, Molly's husband, run back at her as the eyes close. And Molly, no!
We don't need to have another sad moment on TV brought up in this joyful episode.
No, we don't. So let's move through.
Okay, let's get on to the cakes.
Vicky starts
Yes.
with a caramel.
Oh, yeah.
Which is bold for day one inside the shed. I mean, there are many things that I would possibly start with. A caramel, and you've never used those stovetops. And look, let's face it, they're all temporary ovens and stoves. They're a bit temperamental.
I figure she's like, you know, what's there to lose? A baking show. But, you know, you've got better chances when there's more people in the shed.
Exactly, you have a lot more chances. Then we go to Adrian, and Adrian is starting with an art palette. Adrian is having an art attack.
Oh. Another famous Buchanan.
So indeed. So an art palette, orange and coconut orange with a coconut macaroon base. So a full macaroon base with the cupcake.
Yum. I thought that was genius.
Swiss meringue buttercream and then marmalade in the middle.
Yes.
Now, Vicky talks to the judges about the idea that she's putting hot liquid into the batter with a theory that helps the rise and makes them more fluffy. They didn't actually say if they were more fluffy or not with hers.
No.
At no point did they comment on the fluffiness, so I get the feeling they were just a normal fluff.
Look, it's one of those things like, there are things in life where you think if something's a certain temperature, it's going to taste or do something better, and it could purely be placebo effect.
It could be.
Or it could be real.
It could be. Salted caramel
Like
filled...
ice is better when it's at 0 degrees.
We'll come back to
frozen.
that. We'll come back. We've got to talk later on about the Master Ice, so we'll come back.
Okay.
So salt caramel filled vanilla cupcakes, mermaid themed with a brown sugar base then for the sand as well.
Look, anything that's mermaid theme, I'm here for.
You're happy for that.
I was a mermaid a couple of weeks ago.
You were a mermaid a couple of weeks ago. I loved Jaden as he's trying to fill his cupcake. The first shot we get of Jaden is he's trying to fill his cupcake pans, and he overfills one, and all you get is, oh, nah. And we've all been there.
Yeah.
We've all had that moment. I just loved his, oh, nah.
Good on you, Jaden.
Now they cut to Jill. Now what I loved about Jill was the story was really in depth. It wasn't just, I like flamingos, and she says, I like making things with animals.
Yeah.
It wasn't just, I like flamingos. It was, I went to the San Diego Zoo in 1980 and saw flamingos, and these are based on those flamingos.
What you're missing here, Jill, though, like I know you went for a vanilla on vanilla action, but flamingos get their colour from eating krill or something, isn't it? Like, you could have gotten some krill flavoured...
Fish flavoured. Where was the fish sauce for that? Darren Purchase said a number of times in this episode, Darren Purchase says he loves a punch of flavour. So you could have given him a punch of flavour.
And we're not talking like that whole fish sauce caramel bullshit.
No, just fish
straight
sauce.
Up fish sauce.
Yeah, just straight out of the bottle.
Maybe fish sauce, Worcestershire, bit of oyster. Like, throw all your fermented fish-based sauces in.
Fermented flamingo cupcakes.
Yes.
I'm here for it.
Yeah.
Now, Lorena, retro caravan.
Yeah.
So white chocolate cupcakes with blueberries and American buttercream. Now, Darren warned about how sweet American buttercream is. I personally was amazed that she was legally allowed to use American buttercream without adding fondant and Rice Krispie squares. Because I believe that is the only way that legally, having watched Cake Boss, the only way you can use American buttercream is there's got to be a Rice Krispie square and fondant.
Look, I'm glad that she that she violated those rules.
I mean, the fondant came out later in the showstopper.
Yeah, I now need to stalk her shop and find her clothes because I need half of those dresses.
You do.
And the other half I need to afford them.
Exactly.
The other half I need to save up for. But I love her aesthetic, and I'm really glad to see a little bit of retroness in there.
Now,
and the other thing I want to mention with Lorena is she's every host of Australian Bakeoff
combined.
She's
a merge.
She looks like Mel. She's got the hair of Cal. She's got the dress sensibilities of Claire, and she's got that kind of the Nat cutesy mischievousness in there too. So I'm here for it.
Yeah, she is all four rolled into a single ball.
Into one.
Now Ryan.
Yes.
Now I'm going to give a caveat here. I know Ryan. Now,
yeah.
Before anyone asked, no, I have been told absolutely nothing about this season, and I do not want to know anything about this season. I like watching it like everyone else does. I know Ryan. Now, I've never actually met him in person. I know his husband. That's how I know Ryan. But
that's through hockey stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, that's through my hockey podcast. I'm super excited to see Ryan in there. Now, the other caveat with that is that just because I know someone, I'm actually likely to go in harder. And Ryan, that is no exception on you, my friend.
Yeah.
Now
we all know sharks look weird from underneath.
So he made Shark. Now, he likes sharks. He's got a lot of affinity for sharks.
Sharks are awesome.
I'm going to leave what this looks like until the judging, because you can't really tell what this looks like until the end. But when we get there, you'll recognise it. But chai spiced cupcakes, honey Swiss meringue buttercream. Now, Darren reminds him he's got to balance out the spice. Fair enough, because chai is really difficult to balance. And chai, the honey Swiss meringue butter, there's a lot of flavour going on in that combination.
But none of it sounds like there's no danger zone there.
No,
like, you got to get the balance right. But
No,
that's like for any flavour, really.
Yeah, and I mean, look, he avoided matcha, so, well done. Now, Melissa says she's the only person in there who's doing eggless, which was true. Coffee-infused cupcakes with raspberry compote. And she used the dark cocoa buttercream for like the hair design on the patterns, which is
awesome.
Really cool.
But I think what you're missing is what her secret ingredient really is: science.
So I love where she's like, they're like, well, eggs are used for the rise. What are you going to do there? And she goes, I'm relying on science.
And Cal just lit up.
I want a shirt that just says, remember, obviously, this was the host last year of the science show.
Yes.
So Cal looks at it and goes, another scientist. I like this.
Yes.
Then we get a cut to the animal sightings. We get a dog.
Yep.
And we get a kookaburra.
We do. And I just want to, say I'm here for the native birds, right? Further down the track, you're going to hear me have a little whinge.
You are.
Should I just get out of the way now?
Do it now.
Because we're all sweetness and fucking light, right? Don't show starlings. Don't show those Indian miners. They're a pest. This is the equivalent of showing some pigeons.
Yeah.
This is the equivalent of showing, I don't know, some cockroaches. And not the native cockroaches. Like the
equivalency of showing cockroaches.
They're bird cockroaches. They just, they get... Okay, off my soapbox.
Off your soapbox.
Because we're sweetness and fucking light.
What are we, Kristie?
Sweetness and fucking light.
Thank you. So... Also, for those playing along at home to the drinking game, dog, drink. Okay, Arvin. Now, Arvin talks about the idea that he did a lot of clay work when he was younger, and that's why he likes handcrafting designs. And we got to see this. So he's making a Khimayan feast design, chocolate cupcakes with coffee buttercream, walnuts, and fondant food decorations, all done by hand. Boodle fight!
Yeah, it did look very boodle fighty, but more refined. This is when you've got the peace treaty after the boodle fight and you're sitting down to just enjoy each other's company.
I really enjoyed watching him craft all of those little bits. Like the way he was doing the rice was super impressive.
Yeah.
And by the way, for those who have never listened before, first of all, you must wonder what the hell's going on. But secondly, the first episode is always a bit more bang, 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 because you've got a shed full of people. And as one reviewer once famously said about our podcast, how come a show that goes for 45 minutes has a podcast that goes for an hour 45?
Because we can.
Because we can. So...
And we don't edit.
No, we do not edit. So, Molly. Now, Molly did the Blooming Heart, which was raspberry swirl cupcakes, passion fruit curd filled, Swiss meringue buttercream, hand-piped decorations on the outside.
You know who'd like this? The matron from A Country Practice.
she
might be hard on the outside, but she'd be super impressed.
Especially with the little swirl and the raspberries.
Exactly. If Molly rocked up to that at the CWA, like whatever events going on, the matron would just be like, yep, I'm onto that.
100%.
Another Country Practice reference, because you can't get enough of those.
Yeah, exactly.
They're so relevant.
Look, they're so relevant in 2024.
All what TikTok's full of.
Exactly. All the kids can talk about. Every street corner, all you hear from the kids is all about Frank and Cookie.
Yes.
Lots of Cookie references. Esme is big with the kids.
You know what? Esme would peek through that little heart shape in the middle there.
We are here for the modern references, and we are 100% here for references.
Trad Esme.
Oh, 100%. So Cal also then introduced Molly to the host tax. And it's good that you can introduce her that early.
Yeah.
It's a thing. And
Look, she's young. She needs to be indoctrinated early in the piece.
Exactly.
If she hasn't learnt that, she's learning it now.
then we go to Jaden. Now, I'm here for Jaden's flavour profiles. It's him in the long neck turtle.
Yeah.
So we had bunya nuts, wattle seed, sugar bag bush honey, macadamia nut. For me personally, anything that gives me more wattle seed, I am fine with. One of my favourite
flavors is wattle.
One of my favourite things I've baked in the last 12 months was the white chocolate and wattle seed muffins.
Yeah.
I love wattle seed. So yeah, any more, please.
If I could bushwalk, which I don't because I'll just fall and like hurt myself. I just know I will. Like, I love dancing and stuff, but as I've been told, when you become a dancer, you just be a klutz in the rest of your life. And look, I've just embraced that. Really, so I would love to do one of his tours and hear the knowledge he has, but I'm glad he's on TV, so I can just watch. So then we get to Dimmy. Yes. Now, Dimmy was worried about, she had a slightly runny curd, so she was a little bit worried about that. Mm-hmm. The flavours were coconut, blueberry, and almond flake texture elements with the lemon curd, and then topped with the buttercream roses. If someone told me that Dimmy was an early childhood educator before I saw her, this is what I'd picture.
You just go, yes.
That dress is epic. I fucking love it. All about her, but she's so skilled.
And the piping of those roses was incredible. Like I know later on when she was
that out.
Well, I know later on when she was talking to Molly, Molly was like piping directly on, and she's like, probably should have done that. No, because what you had two different styles. You had Molly doing a more modern sort of pipe directly on.
Yeah.
But what you had from Dimmy was that more traditional way of piping the roses.
Yeah.
Which really came out in the final presentation.
It did.
It was more like Molly's looked great, but
Dimmy's
looked more like a rose garden.
Yes.
That was the sort of difference there. So Jason. Now Jason made lemon cupcakes with a raspberry coulis, lemon cream cheese icing, and the idea was the galaxy design.
Yeah.
And then he became what I'd like to refer to as the love child of Jake Peralta and Boyle from Brooklyn Nine-Nine. He's the foodie, but he was half a step away from cool. And it continued. He kept that going down the line.
It's a vibe I'm here for.
Like, because a bit later on they cut back to him and he's like, yeah, nervous. And he says, nervous laughter. And it's so Jake Peralta about to be sent to prison. Like, it was so yeah, Jason's got a slight Peralta vibe to him.
Mm-hmm.
Then Natalie gives the time call and talks about the fact that, my watch says you've got 30 minutes left, and I don't know why my watch is counting backwards. It's what Natalie... Cal, do you know why? It's backwards.
I saw that on a Red Dwarf episode once.
Yeah, on Rumble. Now, I also think that Nat and Ryan needs to be a thing.
Yes.
And the reason I say this is when she walks over to the bench and goes, what can I taste? And Ryan just goes, over there is my honey buttercream. Just drink it.
Yep.
And she's like, well, just drink it. So she picks up the bowl and just starts chugging honey buttercream.
She's like, who am I to argue with those kind of instructions?
And Ryan is just there going, do it. You know you want to, do it. And it's like, you've watched this show before. This is not your first rodeo.
Yeah.
Then we get a cut to Arvin, who is hand painting the buttercream for the leaf.
30 minutes to go. Like, he's just so chill. Like, he's a nurse. I'm assuming it's ER or some like high adrenaline kind of thing. Maybe theatre. Maybe he looks like an adrenaline junkie nurse. Because he's just so calm and cool and collected.
No, there's a couple of points in this episode where everyone is stressing.
He's Fiona Apple in the Nothing's Gonna Change My World.
Yeah, in the Across the Universe
film clip.
Yeah, like you cut back to Arvin and he's just calmly doing whatever he's doing.
Yep.
And like there's a bit later on when they're talking about in the showstopper, they're talking to him about you've got a lot of elements there, and he just goes, well, I've got it all planned out, and if I need to drop elements as I go, I'll make the decisions as I go. And you're like, you are really organised and so calm with the idea of, if I can't do that, I'll just move on and do something else.
So Arvin is me in a hyperfixation state, right? But I feel like he could do that no matter what area of his life. Me and executive function do not go hand in hand. And so I'm just in awe and in love with this man. It's amazing.
Incredible. So then we get the montage of people realising they're out of time, which is a good Bake-Off trope for the first episode, is everyone in that first bake gets towards the end and suddenly goes, oh shit,
Yep.
That's right. There's a clock. I forgot about the clock.
That's their first time experiencing it.
Yeah. So I think that we get to the end there, and the look on Jill's face when they go, final touches, bakers, and Jill has a look of, what? And I want a gif of that. It's one of my favourite looks in this episode. It's just the way that Jill looks at them going, no, that's not a thing. Judging.
Yes.
So, Elliot.
Did you say a gif of Jill?
A gif of Jill.
Okay.
I just realised, we got distracted. Poor Elliot, we didn't mention him. And I don't know why, because I fucking love Elliot. The treble clef.
Yes.
Elliot is, you didn't have to, much like you said about, you didn't need to know that Dimmy was in, I didn't need to, Elliot is musical personified.
Yes.
And treble clef, the orange cakes with the orange mascarpone, the fondant stars, the poppy seed. I am here for every single part of Elliot's bake. Yeah. And so sorry about missing you out there, Elliot, because literally we're flying through the first part of this.
Yeah.
But I am, and we'll get to your design in the showstopper, I am here for the retro, kitschy gorgeousness that we got to see on offer. So, Elliot, Rachel describes the treble clef as joyful, and it is. Darren said that the bake feels generous. He also likes the punch of what Elliot did.
Yeah.
Rachel loved the fact that the mascarpone balanced out the harsher flavours too.
Fun fact, treble clefs were one of my favourite doodles to do when I was at school.
They're fun to draw.
Just a doodle and a treble clef.
They're fun to draw. Yeah. Arvin. So
not fun to draw? Base clef.
Oh no, the base clef's not as fun.
Ugh.
I should do Dimmy before we do Arvin. So Darren said it looks beautiful with a lot of filling. Loved the blueberries.
Rests are kind of fun, but they don't look like they do when they're printed, because you've got to flesh them out, and it's just why. We
finished talking about the other musical things we like to draw.
We'll see.
Semi-briefs. Minims. Minims are easy. Anyway, back to Dimmy. They said that the blueberries offset the sweetness of the bake really well. Rachel said she was generous with the curd, so the texture was a bit soft, but it was really beautiful and still tasted amazing.
Yeah.
Arvin. Rachel said that it felt really good. The coffee and the chocolate balanced absolutely perfectly. Darren said that there was clearly a lot of thought in that presentation.
Yeah.
And that he should be very proud, to which Arvin's response was, I can breathe.
Okay, so maybe Arvin is one of those people that looks calm on the inside, but on the outside, but on the inside.
There's a duck paddling.
There's a duck paddling inside of a crazy circus where someone's throwing knives and, just craziness.
Melissa, they said it looked really cool with great piping.
An opera singer on a pogo stick.
Rachel said that the chocolate raspberry married really well, but she wanted a bit more raspberry. Darren didn't comment massive, but did say that he didn't like the rise. But obviously, we got that comment about the rise on that one because there was no eggs, but we didn't get a huge amount, as I said, when we get to Vicky. Because, that was the one I wanted. Because, it was all about, this is the strategy. I don't know what had happened.
What, is it sitting on the cutting room floor? Can the editor go back
and find out?
Just find out. You know when they do those little Bakeoff extras?
Yep.
There's a little Bakeoff extra.
So...
Was there a comment?
So, Jill.
Does it work?
They said it looks like a flamingo, and she goes, it doesn't taste like flamingo. And Jill goes, I wouldn't know what a flamingo tastes like. And there's a pause. And Natalie Tran just very casually goes, like lamb.
I like that.
And...
Because most people would go pork.
I lost it. Or chicken would they go with. Everyone goes chicken.
Yeah.
But I absolutely lost. That comment was so perfectly timed.
What do you think flamingo would taste like?
Fish. We've had that conversation before. It's fish. True. Now, Rachel says that...
There wouldn't be much of them. Imagine their drumstick, right? You'd have to get rid of half their leg. Not half. 99% of their leg would just
It's like frog's legs.
edible.
It's like frog's legs. Rachel said that the cake had a very soft crumb. But
I assume you'd have to keep it, though, to use it for the flamingo stock. You could just imagine, one of those TV chefs just going, now don't get rid of your flamingo legs.
I can't stress this enough. Save the flamingo. Rachel said that the had a soft crumb but needed better icing balance, and Darren thought that it was a little bit too simple because in reality it was vanilla cake on vanilla cake with pink icing. And look, fair enough. especially if it's a cupcake challenge, you probably need to do something. Molly, they said it looked amazing. The passion fruit exploded with the pop of raspberry. Darren really liked the texture of the cakes too.
Yeah, you'd be serving that up at the pub with Cookie and Bob. Thumbs up.
Jaden, they said it had a very distinct shell look. The desert oak with the icing and tamarind was amazing. They said the cake was a bit dense, but it had amazing flavour punch.
Yeah.
I was interested because we looked at it. It looked slightly under.
Yeah.
So it might have been the density. Maybe if it was baked out a little bit longer. Lorena, 100% retro vibe. The berry pop was really good, but needed a little bit more inside because we liked the blueberry, but we could find one.
Yeah, and I think it was that American buttercream as well. That was
because it's very sweet, so you need that fruit to balance. Now, Ryan. Now, I did say that I would wait until the judging to unveil what this was. I am referring to Ryan's bake as an ode to Left Shark. Now, if you don't know what Left Shark is, Katy Perry, Super Bowl, Left Shark. Look it up. Ryan made Left Shark.
Yep.
And they were doing Jaws jokes and
not mummy.
They were doing Jaws jokes and stuff like that. Yeah. Just when you thought it was safe to come back to the show. No. It's Left Shark.
Yeah. If that was Jaws cake, there would just be raspberry compote everywhere. A leg floating by.
So the balance of the chai was spot on, as Darren said. Mm-hmm. Rachel said that it was dense, but not in a bad way. It was actually really light to eat. Mm-hmm. Adrian, they said that the paints looked absolutely fantastic and they pulled really well. Rachel said the marmalade had a really great zing to it. Mm-hmm. Darren said that the texture was like an old-fashioned macaroon. Yeah. So that was really cool. Vicky, they said there was a big sense of fun with her bake. Darren said there was a lovely ooze from the caramel when you cut into it. Mm-hmm. Rachel thought that the caramel was a nice salty caramel, but probably needed a little bit more cooking out.
Yeah.
And then Jason. Now, looked good. Darren couldn't help, and this happened a couple of times with Jason. Darren took a bite of Jason's bakes and started giggling. And like great flavour, tangy lemon and raspberry were really great together. Good structure to the structure of the cake. Mm-hmm. Rachel loved the cream cheese frosting that he had. Yeah. So like Jason really just appeals to Darren really strongly.
Yeah.
It was a bit again. We've got Brooklyn Nine-Nine references again. It was Captain Holt eating a marshmallow.
Okay, now we have Darren and Jason as Holt and Peralta.
Holt and Peralta.
It's Holt-Rolta.
Holt-Rolta, yes. Or Polt. So the technical was set by Darren, as Cal referred to him, Pastry Lord, Destroyer of Dreams. His tips were to handle with care and bottoms up. So it was a passion fruit chiffon cake.
Yeah.
Now, as they said, a unique cooling method and a light, moist crumb. Now, this is where Cal then refers to the light, moist crumb is what she has in her top after every episode of Bakeoff. And I never thought that I could see someone really lose it that heavily on screen. But Cal making a titty litter joke had Nat on the floor in hysterics. And you could see Nat was just doubled over with just laughter and had to pull herself together to actually do the rest of the read. Finished with torched Swiss meringue and a passion fruit curd.
That joke that Cal made, perfection. This choice for the first technical, also perfection.
Yeah.
I think this is pretty straightforward. There are crunch elements to it, but we're not going to see massive disasters, but we are going to see people having to use a little bit of skill.
You've got to think.
Think.
Now, we get the cloche comes up, and we see all of the ingredients, and ladies and gentlemen, it is Lurpak siding number 1.
Woo.
So just tick that off on your bingo cards.
Yeah.
It is Lurpak siding number 1. That's the first part of the next series paid for. We'll get to the second part of that later on. Now, they've updated the judges' outside space. As we said, they've got a very fancy potting shed. The blood and bone is no longer there.
No, they've cleaned it right out.
You can smell the passion fruit now. Not blood and bone.
Yeah. Someone's got rid of the 60-year-old bloody fertilizer that's been sitting in the corner.
It's all out of there. No.
That's, when it gets a lime scale
yes,
on it,
it's white.
Welded.
It's white now.
Yeah.
So, as they said to Darren, what do you need to do here? The bakers need to not fold too firmly because you don't want to take the air out of it. Mm-hmm. Don't grease the tin because you need it to stick to the sides because that's how you get, the air in it.
Yeah. I didn't know that about cakes needing somewhere to climb to trap the air.
In a chiffon cake you do because you need that extra bit of moisture.
I like learning things.
I love watching everyone trying to be super gentle folding. It's great fun in Bakeoff because you get everyone, and everyone's got different techniques for it.
Yeah.
And Jaden's comment of, I'm giving more love to this than my dog back home. No, I'm joking. It's a double joke.
Imagine if they set this right for the Canadian Bake-Off when Dan Levy was a part of it. Like, Dan, can you tell me, what does this say here? Fold in the egg?
You fold it in.
What does that mean?
You fold it in. It's my recipe. You fold it in.
Just fold it.
Yeah, that would have been fantastic. Then Jill doesn't grease the pan, but does put paper on the bottom so it will come out more easily. Mm-hmm. Now, I have to think that editing knew what they were doing in this next bit. Adrian goes, if you do have air pockets, when you cut the cake, you'll just have a sad big hole in there. We then cut to Jason, who says in his next bit that you just don't want to bang it too much.
That's some like right-wing red pillar propaganda right there. Banging something too much is not going to give you a big hole.
Now we make the curd.
Yes, we do.
Which is well done. And they cut to Jaden, who says, "I'm a fruity, passionate man." That's part of the. I love passion fruit. I'm a fruity, passionate man. I love Jaden. He was great fun.
He's got a good vibe.
Now, this is where we find out what Arvin does to chill. Now, obviously, people have great relaxation methods that they can come up with. Obviously, some people go for long walks. Some people go fishing or planting. Obviously, Darren and Rachel are out in the shed mucking around with, the pot plants and propagating. Arvin likes to whisk. And I can't help but feel that he just carries a portable whisk with him at all times. And, he's out and about. He's just in he's out having coffee with his friends. Just feels a bit of stress. Just pulls out a whisk. Doesn't even have to whisk anything in particular.
No.
Just whisks in the air.
Look, it was a whisk heavy. But I feel like Melissa really brought the big whisk energy.
Yeah.
Just...
Melissa...
She sees your whisk, Arvin, and raises you.
It's almost like Arvin likes to whisk to forget... and Melissa likes to whisk to remember. And I feel like that's a defining characteristic of both of them. So,
I love these big whisks.
What I also appreciated...
and many good nights with some big whisks.
What I also appreciated very strongly about this whole bit with Arvin and the whisk was that Arvin starts down a pun road, realises that this is a pun that is probably more suited to a later week.
Yeah.
And bails.
He's like, no, not going to bring out that
So
line.
he goes, you got to whisk it, pauses, whisk it good. And he's like, biscuit week's usually week 2, so...
yeah, got to save that.
Save that, don't ruin it now. And we get a couple of little interactions here that set some tones. So in this one here, Molly just goes, how are we going? And Adrian just goes, we're getting there, I think. Now this starts the tone with them, but obviously in the showstopper there's a whole other level. But this is the Adrian Molly thing starting to take off in conversation. It's starting
to,
we then get Nat and Cal go over to Elliot's bench, and Nat gets Elliot to sing the next part of the recipe.
He does very well. Usually when people who sing on the spot, they don't really pull out an actual little ditty.
No, he had a riff going.
He was ready to go.
He had a riff going and everything. I was waiting for him to pull out a piano and go, hey, one minute. Workshop with me, ladies. Harmonise. So
pulls in Adrian and he goes you've got the theatre background. And Adrian's like, no, I'm an actor.
I can sing. I can act. I'm a triple threat. I can sing, act, and bake. Now, this is where we get to Melissa using the big whisk, and this is where we also get Cal goes, I'm going to leave you alone. It looks important and hot. Which is also what I look like. Saunters off.
Oh my God, can we please get that on a t-shirt too? How many t-shirt ranges is it we've got coming up?
It's a huge range.
You got relying on science.
Yep.
Important and hot.
Important and hot. There'll be a few more.
My bio for
Burley.
For Burley, yeah.
Important and hot. Yeah. Now it then becomes time to free the cake. Now Ryan does this by gravity. just literally turns the cake over and walks. And so, what are you doing? He's like...
He's relying on science.
Relying on science. It's like, if we do that, it'll gradually just release itself rather than me forcing it and ripping the cake.
Is Bakeoff the new curiosity show?
Well, might be, but then we cut to after dark because we go to Adrian.
Okay.
And he's like, this is bottomsing up. And that's like, bottomsing up. He goes, this is bottomsing up. She goes, that's bottomsing up. He goes, yes. And Nat goes, I have answered some DMs incorrectly. Absolute. No. Again, Nat having an all-timer in this episode.
Solid.
Lorena realised that she possibly forgot to put the baking powder in there because it didn't quite rise to everyone else's levels.
Yeah.
Dimmy was a bit worried about the fact that hers was quite patchy, because this is the tricky bit. So you put it in the tin. Yep. Now you don't bang the tin.
No.
Because that would sink it. But by the same token, you had to sort of swirl around to get it to fill all the gaps up.
Yeah.
And if you looked when Dimmy was pouring hers, there was a bit of an air pocket that was there, and I don't think she did the swirl, which is probably why she had the big space in the cake.
Yeah.
So Jaden then pulls his out, and there's just a massive hole in the side of his. But never fear, Jaden has the Bakeoff spirit. He just grabs the chunk of cake and just goes, cram. That'll do.
No one will see that. Oh, we're not icing around the edges?
No.
Yeah, we'll just point it towards the other way from the judges.
Face it away. Face it away.
Cover it up with my face.
Now we get to the piping and the torching. And as Melissa points out at one point, how many times do you get to burn things intentionally?
Yes. And look, Molly is probably like, at that age where you're still a child at heart, and you're kind of still experiencing new things where you're given responsibilities. You know, like when you get to use a Bunsen burner at school and light a match. Here's a blowtorch. And it's like, she probably wouldn't have burnt it.
I want to see them.
But how long can you do you really get like a reason to use?
I want to see them use.
I want to see them. 16.
I want to see them use the massive sous vide gun they use on Sorted. The flamethrower.
Give that.
That could be fun.
Give that to Molly.
Oh, that'd be brilliant.
She just goes bouncing through the shed. Wah!
And at this point, Adrian, just before the judging, Adrian asked the question that I think we've all asked in our lifetime: Who wants less?
Yeah, exactly.
So the judging. Now, before we get to the judging, Rachel walks in, looks at the marshmallow and goes, I love the marshmallow. That they look like little nipples.
Rachel, welcome. I saw potential in you last year, and to see you in this season, I'm like, this is the real Rachel.
This is what we're after.
This is what goes on in Coo Cottage.
Yep.
You know, the mythical Coo Cottage. Is it? When did they mention getting Rachel's address?
It was at the start. It was at the start of the technical where she's like, you know, like when Rachel Koo says come over, but forgets to tell you what her address is.
No, she doesn't forget to tell you. It's a feeling. You know when you're near it, or you've just got to tap into that energy and just find it.
If you can't sense Coo Cottage, you're not near it.
You're not near it, and you're not wanted. Like,
No.
That's not the invitation for you that day.
No.
Yeah.
The energy and the spirits and the sprites
It's the vibe
will
of it,
lead
Your
you
Honour.
in. It's the vibe you're on.
Yeah, yeah.
So, Jill, fantastic height, irregular pieces of cake, really soft. Hit of passion fruit was there, and a very good meringue and a good curd. Molly, very well torched, fantastic texture. However, the burn on some of it took away from the passion fruit, although Rachel disagreed with that. She liked the burn. We'll come to this at the end of the judging here, because I can see by the end of this series, bakers might be a bit confused, because normally the judges, they don't have to like the exact same thing, but they're fairly certain they're close on things.
Yeah.
And Rachel and Darren have very distinctive tastes that are polar opposites in certain areas, but we'll come to that in a minute. Adrian, they said it looks tremendous, nice to cut, everything you'd want in a chiffon cake, ticked every box. Ryan, they said it struggled a bit with the meringue, there was no shine on it, you could see that, and they said the cake wasn't quite as airy as you might like as well. Vicky, they said the curd was a bit runny, but it was a really good effort in terms of the chiffon itself.
Yep.
Jaden, they loved his meringue, good details on top. It had sort of sunken down and was a bit quite compact and dense. They said he either overhandled the folding or he tapped the tin.
Yeah.
And that might have been a bit of a problem. Elliot, all of the elements were there. Needed a bit more curd, but the cake itself was brilliant.
Yep.
Dimmy had a good height with great passion fruit, but the chunks missing in the side of her cake, which we talked about, were a bit of an issue.
Yeah.
Lorena, right around the edges, but the meringue was a bit flat. Everything else was there, but should have been more generous with the curd and the meringue. Oven looked pretty, texture was great, meringue was well done, curd was great. Melissa's looked fantastic, was slightly curved, and they said that might have done with in the tin and how it came out.
Yeah.
The meringue hid the passion fruit, however, and overwhelmed it. And Jason, great colour, but you could see patches. We know that. The curd was delicious, but not cooked out enough. The cake had a good texture, and we got good use of good mouthfeel for the first time in this series. So the order, just quickly. So from last to first was Jaden, Lorena, Ryan, Vicky, Melissa, Dimmy, Elliot, Jill, Molly, Jason, Arvin, and Adrian wins our first technical of the season.
Which is wonderful. And look, at this point, as I was watching it, I've just realised the kind of quality of bakers that we've got this season. Lovely people from the outset. Who knows? Next episode, Molly could turn around and just go, I'm actually a 90-year-old boomer and I just teach us all. I don't know. I'm just trying to think of something really ridiculous that would never happen.
Well, you're in for a shock. Wait till Kristie predicts that one.
I know. I don't want to be The Simpsons. I'm looking at this, and if any of those cakes were served up to me and someone said, this is my first attempt, I'd be pretty bloody impressed and go, you need to be on Bakeoff.
Look, it was a challenging technical.
Yeah.
Like, they gave them a challenging first technical. So I said in the first one, I wasn't as happy with cupcakes. I liked the fact that the technical went, no, we're stepping this up.
Yeah.
Here you go. Have a chiffon cake. Not easy.
You there. I'm a dandy highwayman, and I couldn't help but notice it to be Cake Week. And while you might not be able to produce something that matches the level of these bakers, I can make your cakes look more appealing than the loot on this stagecoach. Stand and Deliver cake stands ensure the best quality products are used to support you and your cakes. We deliver anywhere, anytime, with the fastest horses around. And because we believe in robbing the rich to give to the poor, we always give you, the customer, the best deal. So don't buy cake stands that are so expensive that it's like highway robbery. Stand and Deliver cake stands, the best deal of your life.
Into the showstopper.
Yeah.
Make an epic birthday cake for yourself.
Fuck yeah.
Now, 2 tiers.
Yeah.
Flavours that you love, well decorated, and you have 4 hours, which is a long time to make your own birthday cake. Now, what would you have gone with?
You know me. You know what I'm always asking for, but I don't get. Swim pool cake. How many seasons has it been of this of us doing this podcast? You say that every season we do this. You're like, oh, I'm going to make that.
Well, it's going to be 2 tiers. So how about I make you the swimming pool cake and then I like stuff the train on top of it. Then it's 2 tiers. That works. What? Just the swimming pool cake, and I'll just cram the train on top of it.
Of all the Women's Weekly cookbook cakes you could have chosen, like the castle that could have a swimming pool on it.
Hey, my favorite, by the way, if you've never
caterpillar carrying a swimming pool.
never seen the interview with the woman that made the Women's Day birthday cake book, she looks at the dump truck
on the swimming pool.
She looks at the dump truck cake and goes, "Bastard of a cake, don't ever make it." And Andy Cooks on YouTube then went out and made that one. He goes, "It's easy. I don't know why she complained about it." But no, it would be obvious if I overlaid the swimming pool with the duck, or even if I did the cricket pitch, because then at least they're the same shape, or the clock, same thing. No. I want to see a train crash into the swimming pool.
Okay, fine. Derail the train.
I want a disaster cake. Anyway,
Alrighty.
Let us know what Women's Weekly cakes you'd stack on top of each other.
Mash up.
Yeah. From the new book, we're not using the gollywog. Anyway,
No.
So moving on. Quick point before we start this one. This made a bit of a rod for the judges' back, because at no point could the judges say that your flavours were too simple, because the brief was, what flavours would you like? You could have vanilla with vanilla.
Yeah.
And you know what?
It's your
perfectly
birthday.
valid. It's your birthday, and that's what you wanted. So
Like, if it was my birthday, like, I'm simple. Like, I like a chocolate cake, orange poppy seed. Like, I I don't want fancy. Like, it would be like me going, I'm going to make you a cake and I want it to be extra fancy, so I make you matcha and yuzu. Like, that's not something you like.
No. Although
Although everyone would, like, laugh. It would give us all joy.
Oh, everyone would find it hilarious. You have no idea. Just for people at home, you have no idea how often our inbox fills up with people taking photos of matcha products and sending them to me.
Yeah.
So we need to get into this because the most important part of this whole opening is Melissa, who clearly knows what to do with a cake, because she does something that you obviously find really impressive. She steeped her tea.
Yeah, she did. Melissa, you've got my vote. You know, you're going to go far with that tea steeping. Canadians, if you're listening, one particular Canadian. Take note.
Might rhyme with beaven. Take note.
Have a little look at Melissa's steeping technique.
Also, hey Steve, how you going?
Yeah.
So we go to Judge's Corner. Now, all I did with Judge's Corner this time was say who they were positive about and who they were negative about. They were positive about Adrian and Molly. They were negative about Jill and Jaden.
Yeah.
So that's really all to take there. Now, unfortunately, we cut to Jill.
Yeah.
Who says, and I quote her directly here, "It's a safe bet with me and cakes."
Oh, Jill.
What do we say?
Jill.
Every year,
Don't tempt the gods.
the Bakeoff gods are not to be trifled with. No folly.
And that's a pun intended there. Do not trifle with them.
No.
Don't.
Literally and figuratively.
When you walk into that shed, leave your hubris at the door.
Exactly. Careful Icarus.
Indeed.
And when she says it's a safe bet with me and cakes, the baking gods go, really?
Yeah.
How's your pineapple curd? Let's have a look at that a bit later on, shall we? Let's have a look. So they were already by that point. Unfortunately, look, this is not Jill's fault.
No.
They were plotting her downfall.
Yeah.
Like, they were plotting her downfall.
She had no hope
No.
from that sentence onwards.
Now, I said before that we got our first Lurpak sighting of the season. Mm-hmm. We cut to Lorena.
Yep.
Who talks up the Smeg mixer. And ladies and gentlemen, that is Series 8 confirmed right there. We have now paid for it.
Yep, well
between
done,
talking
Lorena.
up the Smeg mixer and showing some Lurpak at the start of it. Congratulations, everyone. Season 8, it's a go. Well done. Woo!
I do love that powder blue. It is so pretty.
It's a colour. It's a pretty colour.
Yeah.
So, Dimmy. Now, Dimmy was making a Sri Lankan-inspired carrot cake. Cream cheese and cardamom caramel.
Yep.
Orange and vanilla macarons. And wafer flowers. Now, Rachel points out at this point that she's making it tricky for herself, or as we would call it...
She's flooring.
She's flooring. Flora from the Great British Bakeoff a few seasons ago.
A few seasons, probably a decade ago
It's
now.
almost a decade ago now. Who, would have to make a simple, carrot cake, for example, and would top that off with a macaron tower and complete...
Profiteroles.
Profiteroles and sugar work around all of it as big glass dome. And they're like, no, just a one-tiered carrot cake. No.
I got you. And a flan just because.
Just because, on the side, because she was hungry. Arvin. Now, Arvin made vanilla sponge with raspberry jam, white chocolate ganache, and fondant flowers. Yep. Now, Darren asked him about his timing, and this is where I said before, he went, I'll work out what I can do, and as we go through, if I need to move things, I'll just move them. And I'm like,
wow,
you are far too calm for episode 1.
Yeah.
Now, Vicky points out that she wants to not be chaotic, so she's trying for less mess. Vicky...
Don't bother.
This is the one time in your life that there are people paid to clean up after you.
Yeah, just go borrow Ryan's D&D apron. And work out that you can be chaotic good. It's fine, you could go chaotic neutral. Chaotic good's kind of fun. Now, I think that will work for a baker.
Now, Vicky then obviously puts it through the razzle dazzle filter. Listeners to get this will love that reference. Everything has to go through the razzle dazzle filter, and she comes out with a razzle dazzle cake. Raspberry buttercream, fondant balls, and white chocolate shards.
Nice.
Then we go to Elliot, who's making a pistachio cake, and there's a significant bowl of pistachio mixture, which looks really good.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk about the most important thing that Elliot said in this whole episode. His grandfather was a master icer.
Who? Okay.
I love the idea of J.G. Elliot and Sons master icers.
Is this like a baking masons?
I hope so.
Because you know how there's the
master builders and master masons and master icer.
icer.
Had a big storefront and everything. People would bring their cakes.
Like, that would be a really cool secret society to be a part of.
The handshake would be amazing. Bit messy, but amazing.
Bit messy. It would be really interesting on, like, society nights. I don't know what they call them. You know, when they're... How do they induct people? Like, do they put them in, like a
Isomalt dome.
Isomalt dome and like, release them? Like, you know, after they've done the trials of the what's it called, Swiss meringue.
Yeah. Once you've done the Swiss meringue trials inside the Isomalt dome, that's how you qualify. And again, E.J. Elliott's sons.
Like, I know Masons have an apron, and it's quite fancy. Imagine the icing. Mason's apron.
It's a palette knife. Oh, you get a special custom palette knife.
Oh, so that would be their symbol. So the Mason symbol is like the what's the compass and the...
Yes. They've got a really cool palette knife.
Palette knife, yeah, and maybe a whisk.
Well, then Arvin would be in, because, like, Arvin likes whisking.
Well, maybe we need to watch when Arvin and Elliot are near each other to see if they do, like, a secret handshake.
Exactly, 100%. I'm a master icer, just the prospect of a master icer just tickled me no end. And I loved him showing the photos of the cakes and then looking at the judges and going, mine is going to look nothing like this.
I wonder which royal is part of the Master Icers Association.
Princess Michael of Kent.
Yes. She's
always like...
strikes me as a Master Icer.
Between Wimbledon and that. It's, so... Also, he points out that he's like lemon and Swiss meringue, fresh raspberries, buttercream icing inside, also using kefir milk. So we are really close to that Yakult cake we've all dreamed of. He's like, it's good for gut health. And I'm like, really? Swiss buttercream? Meringue? Cake? You're putting a bit of kefir milk in there? That's good for your gut?
Wouldn't kefir milk... Like, okay...
It's like my philosophy, by the way, of you can eat anything you want, but if the last thing you eat is a piece of fruit, it's healthy.
Yes. It's perfectly
I could have a massive slab of pavlova, like a huge slab. Yeah. But if I'm eating the fruit off the top of it...
Yeah, get a little blueberry.
I'm great.
You're done.
Half a strawberry, bit of kiwi.
Ah, yeah.
Sweet.
Done.
Jaden.
Yes.
Was a bit worried at this point in time about how far behind he was. Vanilla sponge... desert and finger limes, macadamia, and toasted coconut buttercream.
And he says, he's like, coconut's native.
Now...
That makes sense. But are they?
Because, I looked this up.
Would it be because, like, coconuts just drift on the ocean and wash up on an island and then they just grow wherever they drift
So
up?
it's semi-disputed, but the belief is that obviously the cocos palms and stuff like that are up, and it is up in the Northern Territory and up in the north part of Queensland. So on the islands up there, there is a whole... I went down the rabbit hole, and I went and looked at... There are papers on people arguing, and the general belief is that Cape York and stuff like that, yes, there are native coconuts.
But could it be, right, just that evolutionary process of, because we've all seen, like, those things where you...
Because the old theory was that it was mariners that introduced it, not even, like, travels like that.
Yeah, but... I mean that makes sense. Like, we, humans didn't, like, stay in one, like, sprout up and stay in one spot. Yes. We got around, even thousands of years ago, they got around. Like, they were, like, worse than me in my 20s. Hold on, wait. I didn't have so many coconuts, though. But maybe... it could be that. It could just be that. Like, you've seen the birds carry coconuts.
How do they carry a coconut?
In their hair, in their feet.
I was setting you up for the Monty Python and the Holy Grail bit.
Sorry.
How does a swallow carry a coconut? It can grip it by the husk.
Oh, sorry, my love. You set me up.
2 of them can carry it on a string.
Yes. As you probably heard, you can hear I'm on the tail end
of an illness.
Of an illness. It is not the top 3. We've done that test. It's a random cold.
And somewhat laryngitis, which, for a podcaster is not great.
Wonderful.
Anyway, moving on.
Moving right along.
Molly. So yes. Molly's going with the coffee buttercream, chocolate crackle, coconut caramel with rice paper and isomalt sails.
Molly, you had me at chocolate crackle. I am the Renee Zellweger.
You are.
To your Tom Cruise.
You complete me with crackle.
You complete me with crackle. And there is another reference you will not get.
Not get it. Not close. No. I've never seen that movie. Doesn't understand it.
No.
So Arvin at this point was making the raspberry jam, and this is where he just looked so calm. Everyone else around him was chaos. Jason was working on his espresso ganache, orange chocolate cake, Swiss meringue buttercream, with designs on both Australia and Canada.
And Jason was channeling You of a Morning. It's like, I
Not
need
enough
another
coffee.
I need more.
Now, Jill at this point in time listens to her, but intensely listened to her bakes.
Oh, there was like, did she have this like kind of foreboding? Like, I'm really
It's warning
that
her.
word. Like, yeah, she's just having this like
The cakes were like, we've spoken to the gods, watch out.
Yeah. She's like, which one of you? Like, one of them's probably sitting there taunting her with its, because you're listening to your bakes.
Yes.
One's going, we're going to collapse. You have been cursed by the gods. A little Cassandra cake.
Then we cut to Lorena, who's talking about her cactus design.
Yeah.
Chocolate and coconut ganache with painted fondant on top.
Mm-hmm.
Look, I'm not the biggest fan of just overlaying. And there was a lot of fondant on that cake. But the inside design sounded amazing. I thought it was a really thick. When they did the slice, I'm moving ahead a bit. When they did the side profile slice, that was a really thick slice of fondant on that cake. But I think it was because she hadn't quite got it to the height she wanted, so she felt needed to. And you panic.
But can we just take a moment? You're doing a 3D cactus cake.
Yeah.
Like everyone else is doing like cakes that are pretty solid base, pretty sturdy top. She's like, fuck it, gonna make it a cactus.
Yeah.
Like that was pretty ballsy.
People start
Well
learning
done.
about needing shed level patience because their cakes aren't cooling fast enough, and they're looking at them going, I've got to let this cool, but I can't, but I've got to. Cut to Ryan, who's making cinnamon and nutmeg cake with strawberry and rhubarb jam, enhanced with Davidson plum. Big plum got to Ryan.
Thank you, Ryan, for your dedication to Davidson Plum, where we will love you forever.
That's right, I forgot Big Plum got to you too.
Sorry, what was that?
Anyway, now Big Plum got to him, and tick that off on the box because Davidson Plum's on the card. Apple and cinnamon donut topping. Now, Darren was a bit worried about too much flavour going on. Cut to Darren in the judging where he said there wasn't enough fruit after worrying there was too much. And this is where I think we're going to have a bit of an interesting balance with the judging this year. Darren likes really punchy flavours.
Yeah.
Rachel, not as much, likes more of the balance. So you get opposite ends of the spectrum here. On Darren wants a lot of punch. Rachel's like, bit more subtlety is good. And they're on complete polar opposites on that. And this happened a few times in this episode with different bakes.
But it's like when you go for a massage. Some people like a firm, like pressure. Other people like a light pressure.
Yeah, but they're not judging against each other and trying to come to a consensus.
True.
That's the issue.
But
and
do we want uniformity in judges? Or
no
do we
uniformity, but I'd probably like it a little bit closer.
But I like this because then you're getting the best out of two people who might not agree on everything. So when they agree on the winner, you know it's a good thing.
So then we cut to Molly and Adrian, who are talking decorations.
Yes.
And Adrian's like, what do you... She goes, I've just got to go off and make my sales. And she's like, what? He goes, I'm a sales. I'm making isomalt sales. Yeah. And Adrian goes, I've got balls going up against isomalt sales. And much of the British merchant navy is like, same, dude. Leaving that there and moving on. Adrian is making limoncello soaked sponge, raspberry and lemon curd, toasted Swiss meringue, buttercream. He then has one of my favourite moments where he's like, we are levelling our cakes to the best of our ability, slices it and ducks down and he goes, oh, that's much worse. I love that. It was one of my favourite moments. Just the that's much worse. And also, booze and a bake. Yep. Booze and a bake. And he starts this and Jill heard that and went, I can go further.
I think where Jill went wrong is possibly leaning too heavily into her Beach Boys
fandom. So let's talk about it. A pina colada cake, vanilla cake infused with rum.
But Jill, were you in your Brian Wilson missing era? Yeah. Was there too much LSD?
Was this Brian Wilson Love and Mercy era?
Yeah.
I feel Smile. It was Smile. It had to be Smile. Yeah. Was this Brian with the rum? I'm talking about the good vibrations. Oh, you'll get good vibrations with the rum.
And even better ones with the LSD.
Exactly.
Jill did not lace her cake with LSD. Let's
as far as we're aware.
As far as we're aware.
The Bakeoff budget does not cover LSD. Let's just make that clear.
Getting that as a producer, they're getting people are sending you the recipes and stuff, and they're like, You want what now?
Yeah, well, hang on. So
I wonder if there's a very clear thing of we will not get anything that is illegal.
I'm assuming there is.
Yeah.
Phrases that you only hear on Bakeoff. I'm making my elephant out of modelling chocolate. Melissa, so good. So Zubani tea and white chocolate cake covered in fondant maps, topped with a gold chocolate elephant. Again, as you do.
Yeah.
Now, cut back to Adrian again, who is providing as much drama as humanly possible.
With his balls.
He's doing the outside of the cake, and he's like, I had some bulging curd out of the sides.
He got stuff
And
that
then he
back
goes,
in.
the floodgates had opened, and the flood was lemon-flavoured.
Look, worse floods to have.
Exactly. Cal walked over to Lorena's cake and goes, this looks exciting, Lorena. It looks like an Arctic cactus. Because she hadn't painted it yet. It's still white.
It's a cactus in a blizzard.
Then poor Jaden is trying to answer Cal and Nat without looking at them while they're trying to convince him to invite them into their birthday party.
He's looking off, like, wanting to answer this seriously, and they're like, no.
Just us.
Darling, just look at us.
Just say us.
Just say us.
Now, Jill's cake at this point starts to try to fall. She keeps pushing it back, and I'm like, that's not going to...
Stop, it's already dead.
You're pushing it back. It's not going to last forever. Dimmy's also has a massive lean to it as well. Now Jason looks at his cake, and again, in phrases you only hear in Bakeoff, what else do I need? Mountains! Connecting mountains! And then Lorena put the thingy on the cactus. And the thingy was a long tube-like white appendage being stuck onto the side of it, and it writes itself. We don't need to follow it up. Because time is up for the bakes. And then time is up for Jill's bake. Because after time is up, Jill just goes, it's going.
Oh, dear.
It's going.
Oh, no.
There it goes.
Yeah.
And then she just looks at everyone's like, oh my God, Jill. And she's like, is that okay? And then she's like, I'm going to take it up there. I want them to see the effort I put in.
Yeah, science was not on her side, nor were the gods.
So the judging.
Yes.
Arvin. It looked amazing. Rachel liked the marbling techniques. Well-defined layers. Darren loved the jam. The layers cut through the ganache. However, Rachel wanted less jam. Dimmy. Looked spectacular. Really good carrot cake. Well layered. Rachel said the balance was really good. For Melissa, they loved the colours. The texture was very dense, but it wasn't dry, which is really important. And the tea is delicious.
Yep, so steep and good tea.
Rachel said that Jason's looked a little bit like sunflowers. And then Darren loved the mix of flavours. And once again, giggled in a very halt to Peralta moment. Lorena, they said it looked really festive, and the dark chocolate was a good call against the sweetness of the fondant. And that's when I noticed how thick the fondant was, and I'm like, yeah, that's a really good call. Elliot, it looked fantastic, generously filled. Rachel thought it was very fresh and fruity, and Darren really loved the pistachio cake texture. I loved that look of that cake. The green that he chose, the colours, the piping, I really loved that cake by Elliot.
It was gorgeous, yeah.
It was one of my favourites of the week. Now, they said that Jill's jam was very aromatic. The cake was soft and tender. It tasted good. The jam was good, but as Darren said, was also your Achilles heel because you put too much of it on, and it just made everything soft and just ruined the structure.
I feel like Jill went, you know what, this is me at the end of my birthday night. Had a good time.
Really like the jam.
Just gonna crash out.
What she should have said that it was a mudslide cake, and like the jam represented the flow of age and beauty and wisdom, and come up with wanky bullshit. If you want to stay in Bakeoff, wanky bullshit.
I don't think there's enough wanky bullshit on Earth.
I meant for that to happen. For Adrian, looks fantastic. This is where Darren referred to his cake as shagadelic. Thankfully, he didn't say baby. Clearly defined layers. Darren loved the lemon punch. They said the cake was delicious and it balanced the punch of the curd. Ryan's, they said, looked fun, but Darren actually wanted more fruit and more filling.
Okay.
Vicky, they loved the contrast. The raspberry flavour was really tangy, and the dark chocolate, again, was a good consistency. So if you really want to work out what the judges like, dark chocolate cakes. Jaden, they loved his use of finger lime. The cake was delicious. The flavours were good, but they just warned him to not have too many. He's like, I like throwing a lot in there.
Yeah.
I loved Jaden's cake came out really well, actually. It looked really good. And Molly. It looked amazing. Sharp edges, good layers, tasted fantastic. The crackle stayed crispy.
Yep.
And the flavours and the textures were exceptional.
Oh, Molly, that is a kick-ass
For a first
cake.
up bake, especially. Absolutely brilliant.
What were you baking at 16?
Not much.
I could do scones. That was about it.
Packet mixes.
Oh, packet mixes. Yeah, I did those. Oh, I was baking Girl Guide style.
Yeah, well, yeah, you were.
Burnt on the outside,
Soft
thin
in the
layer of and gooey on the inside. Perfect
Absolutely
campfire
perfect,
night.
yes. So,
Stick your marshmallows in that half-cooked egg and eat it.
so unfortunately, the going home decision this week was a fairly straightforward one.
Yeah.
Unfortunate for Jill. And look, we've seen it before. You know, we've seen it before. You have an unfortunate incident that takes place, and that's it. But like I said, the flavours of the cake were great, so nothing to worry about on that front there. It's just always someone's got to go home in the first episode.
Yep.
Star Baker was probably a little bit harder to call, but Molly, the execution on that cake, very clean lines, very crisp. Molly gets Star Baker for week
chocolate
one.
crackle.
Chocolate crackle.
You
That's
threw
all
chocolate crackle. If
Win.
I'm the judge, right, you know, everyone knows that Rachel Adonis likes her gold. Rochelle Adonis,
yeah.
likes her gold,
Gold
leaf.
leaf.
Maggie Beer, you know, you throw verjuice in it, it's a winner. For me, you chocolate crackle it up, even
Win.
if it's bread week.
Yeah.
Winner.
Yep,
Winner.
exactly.
Chicken dinner.
So Molly is our Star Baker for week one, and
Well
Jill
done.
unfortunately is going home.
Yeah, look, it was a pleasure to see Jill in the shed though. Like,
Yeah, she was really good.
yeah,
And episode one, I have to say, a really easy watch.
it was joyful. I was hesitant coming into this because of, you know, that shared loss of Cal, but I feel so joyful and so lifted.
Yeah, I think it was a really good way to lead the series off, and I think
Yeah.
it was a really good first episode. So,
Yeah.
you know, again, for me, minor hiccup with the cupcakes,
Yeah.
but there was only a minor hiccup for me, and I think the design factor worked for it, and we're all good. If that's the most I can say about it. Anyway,
I'm just being the voice of the people,
no, you're not.
and I'm going to make cupcakes.
I look forward to that. So that's a bombshell to end on. I'm going to get cupcakes made for me. I look forward to... I'm looking forward to that now.
I wonder if they
All right.
deliver them on Uber Eats.
Until next time, I'm still Chris.
And I'm still Kristie.
And we will catch you all later.
We're going to rely on science.